It's 7 o'clock. We ready? All right. Well, I will call to order our meeting this evening. So we will start off with a roll call to my left.
My name is Robert Jones.
James King.
Jenny Sisson, and we don't have any other board members online. Okay. So we have met our quorum for this evening. So I will have everyone review last month's previous minutes and make a motion to approve those.
I can make a motion to approve the minutes unless anybody needs time.
No,
I'll second that motion.
we have a second, so we approved last month's meeting minutes. And then we will move on to old business. CU 0121 2025-02, the findings of facts for 106 South Pendleton Avenue, State Street Investors via Emily Butler.
Yes, and good evening, first of all.
Good evening.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming out here on the cold night. It's very brutal out there, so we appreciate you hanging in here with us. Vice Chair, if it is okay, I'll leave this up to the board, but because those findings of facts and those petitions that were approved last month were just presented last month and they are very similar in nature, I would be open to presenting those kind of jointly, but then kind of segueing off into one of them had two conditions where the other one was approved without conditions, but it's up to you. We can go through them singly if you'd like to.
I'm fine with together. Are you guys?
Yeah.
We can have you present that way.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So yes, so the two conditional use requests that were approved at last month's meeting, both were pertaining to a short-term rental. We had the one that was here off of South Pendleton Avenue, which was in part the south end of that commercial building here in the downtown business. And then the second conditional use for the short-term rental was the one off of South Adams Street. It was Unit A that had that detached garage accessory dwelling unit that they wanted to convert into a short-term rental as well. So at last month, there for various reasons and findings, your board had deemed that all the criteria was met. That included the establishment and operation was not detrimental to public health and safety. Those are outlined in detail in those findings of facts in your Google Drive, as well as going on the conditional use was not deemed injurious to the use or enjoyment for those properties surrounding this subject parcel, as well as it did not impede or alter the normal or orderly development of those properties around the subject property. Also, adequate utilities and road access, as well as ingress and egress, were met on both of these two petitions, and that the conditional use of a short-term rental is a permitted use in both the downtown business and the residential Port Conservancy districts, so long as a conditional use is approved by your board. So those criteria were all deemed to be met. The first petition regarding the property that and petition that was filed by Emily Butler, that one was approved as presented, adopting the staff analysis, supported and basis for those findings and facts without conditions. So if you like, I can pause there if you want to make a vote on that, and then I can go into the conditions then for the second petition.
Okay, I think we should do it that way.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
sounds good.
Okay, great.
Do you guys have any additional questions?
I do not.
Okay.
No questions.
Okay.
No?
So I will make a motion then to approve.
Second.
Okay, all
So
right,
And then all in
great.
favor?
All in
Okay.
favor?
do we,
Just say, if you
You
want to
vote
say
on it.
all in favor.
okay,
then
I always
yes,
forget
yep,
on the
yep,
conditional, all in favor?
that'd be fine.
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you very
So
much.
We can then move on to the next finding of facts. V 012-12-025-03 for 315 Adams Street.
Yes, thank you. And just as previously stated, those findings, the facts and the criteria was deemed to be met by your board. However, with this one, it was approved as presented. However, there was two conditions that were set in place. The first condition, considering the fact that this property was surrounded by highly residential area, there was the ask and order from your board for a 24-hour surveillance system to be placed on the property with video, and that proof to be provided to the planning department. Wanted to report to you that that proof has already been submitted to the planning department, and that proof has been added to the records of this petition. And then the second condition was that the occupancy maximum was limited to 2 adults and 2 children, or as limited by state statute, whichever is less. And so we kind of took a dive into that with state statute. It's based on square footage of the facility, and it is that limit of 4 is well under the max. So it's somewhere around kind of like 6 to 8 occupancy max for the square footage for our state requirements. But that is the second condition that was applied for this this conditional use request.
Do we have any additional discussion?
I do briefly on that on the, these Airbnbs are getting pretty popular, kind of all over the place. We had these 2 for, last month, and I would anticipate we'll probably see more coming down the road. I
agree.
would
Yes.
anticipate. And I kind of wonder about, do you reach a saturation point, or does the market probably drives that to some degree, but I don't know how many, we're a small town. We want to keep that small town feel, historic feel that we have. And you get into this kind of a footprint, I kind of wonder if we need to be sensitive to that we don't overload, or maybe we get too many of these in a town of this size.
Yeah.
And I don't know what points we get, and the market would have a big influence on that drive that, and maybe that's what drives it. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I would
yeah.
hate to see these things just
Just
all over the place,
sit.
for lack of better
yeah,
words.
mhm,
They
sure.
had some concerns on the last one there in Adams Street, and the young lady was here that lives there and expressed her concerns, all that, and I agreed with where she's coming from, and my vote reflected that. But I think we're just gonna see more of these, and I think we need to be sensitive to not getting overboard.
I agree. But then out of the other side of my mouth is also that not being too intrusive with rules and regulations and someone's
Property rights. Yeah.
property rights, but yet what
Yeah.
encroaches on someone else's rights, and striking that balance. So I do think it's something we need to keep on the radar, see what other communities, how they approach that, and from a legal standpoint as well.
Yeah.
But again, I felt for her too, but again, property owners do have a certain amount of rights as well.
True, but then that was a business venture going into a residential zoning
Mhm.
neighborhood.
Yeah.
So I think that, to me, I think that was kind of the rub for me. I get what you're saying, don't
Yeah,
disagree with
yeah.
your thoughts. I think it was a business. She had a good presentation, and I totally understand that, and but still, it is a business going into a residential area to set up that rental footprint.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that
no.
that was the kicker for me, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah, thank you for bringing that
Mhm.
up, and I think that that is definitely a good valid concern, and I think that, we would definitely, as staff, will keep that on the radar, look
Mhm.
into things
Mhm.
as far as kind of legal standpoint. We had a little bit of conversation with our legal counsel as far as, what that balance is between property right, owners for property use and benefit of that property, a full benefit of their the land that they own, but at the same time being conscientious and mindful to those that are around that home as well. And I do like the fact that we are keeping this as a conditional use request,
Mhm.
because it does give that extra added layer and governance and oversight by the boards to make sure that these units are set up properly and that they do meet all the standards before that use is approved.
And there's
but-
the annual review,
Yes,
Where-
Mhm.
yes.
where
and
that's-
then they have to
Yeah.
have,
that's not a guarantee. So if they
That's
have too
right.
many disruptions there, we will
Mhm.
know it from a legal
Mhm.
standpoint and not renew that if they can't get that under control.
I'd probably
absolutely.
be not against it, but less likely to approve if it was big property management company buying up a bunch of
Mhm.
unused
Mhm.
properties, at a high price and then turn them into Airbnbs or,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
vacation rental by owner. But
Yes.
as long as they're local owners, your peers and your neighbors are gonna hold you to account. If you rent your property to a bunch of partiers,
yeah,
so,
yes.
Mhm.
uh,
Yeah.
I'd rather see them get some use out of it and rent it out and make some money off of it than have it just sit empty and get run down
Sure.
anyway.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, that, both of them were locally owned, and
Yeah.
I think that was key for that accessibility and to be able to have that, property management, that available to the renters, so.
And if they
yeah.
were to sell it, again, if I'll say a mom and pa sells to a commercial, it's not necessarily guaranteed because they have to go through the whole process of registering it
Mhm.
annually.
And have to switch to a long-term rental, which
Mhm.
is their right.
Yes,
So,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, and I think, we've got some good checkpoints in place, and we'll continue to review those and build upon those. And, I know that there was other discussions that we made note as far as, do we want to require that privacy fence in there? There was also that, reporting of occupancy, count, while they do apply for that permit. And then also to, the other feature was, the identification requirement. So those are some things that we're exploring as a planning department to see if that is something that we can legally require in our processes. So, yeah, no, thank you very much for bringing that up.
Thank you.
So I will make a motion then to approve the findings of fact for 315 South Adams Street.
Second,
Okay, so does everyone agree?
Aye.
aye.
Okay, so that is approved. And then it looks like we have the next one is continued still.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And
What do you mean continue?
Oh,
Oh, it's
it has-
continued from last month. So we
Okay.
are here, yes, we're going to present on that and give an update on that
Oh,
tonight.
okay.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
so I will have you move
Okay,
forward with
okay,
that.
Okay, great,
Okay.
sorry.
The continued confused me on
Yeah,
that.
okay, Rakesh is on, okay, perfect. So, yes, so this matter here was of old business. We do have the conditional use that was sought for a hotel there on the property just east of I-69. We do have petitioner that they are here, but they had another conflict, a prior commitment tonight, so they are online here. We have Rakesh Patel and Parish Patel. They are available for any questions that you may have. But just kind of a real quick recap from last month, we presented this petition. It is in the general business zoning. It's about 12-acre parcels. They would like to develop lot 4 and lot 5 as hotels. Each of those lots are about 2+ acres each there. And since our last meeting, we, Hannah Rose, Urbanski, and myself met with Rakesh. We communicated quite a bit between us, his team, which included a design team for architectural standards and features, as well as his engineer for the site layout. Since then, they were able to provide us some additional materials. Your board last month had asked for this matter to be continued to give them time to provide additional documents, as well as to give our design review board to be able to have time for them to review those materials, and then to give a solid recommendation back to the board. So we are here tonight. We'd like to be able to pick that back up. Since then, we have not received any feedback from the community, either in support or objection to this petition. So Stephanie, if you want to go on to the next slide there. Petitioner, as we stated last month, they'd like to build and operate a hotel on 2 of the 5 lots there within the commercial subdivision, which is the Heritage Hub at Falls Point Business Park. And down below just kind of breaks down there what lot 4 and lot 5 would consist of and what they are proposing. Lot 4 would most likely be Fairfield by the Marriott. That would be a 79-room hotel, 4-story, 38,000 square feet. And then on lot 5, they're proposing to have Town Place Suites by Marriott. That is a little bit larger facility. That would be the lot that is just at the corner of, would be the future Legacy Drive and then South Heritage Way. And that is about 112 room, 5-story building. Both of them to offer breakfast buffet and recreational facility. Those documents are in your Google Drive, those brochures that they provided to us last month. The first one for the Fairfield by the Marriott was reviewed by the Design Review Board, but then in follow-up with that review board after last month's meeting, they then had time to review the Town Place Suites by Marriott. And then you'll also see in your Google Drive, there are several additional examples, images of what the Fairfield by the Marriott could look like. And we had shared with them the versions there that were within historic communities, and they were very well receptive of that. And they took that, as well as we provided them details what kind of standards are required in the Gateway Overlay District, as well as our Unified Development Ordinance. So they kind of took that, went back to the table, and provided us those additional documents. And then a couple of them we would like to hone in on tonight. So the first one is the conceptual building. And that is provided here below. But also, Stephanie, if you want to step out of that presentation momentarily, wanted to show you the presentation in full of what was provided by petitioner. We're not going to go out in detail, but I just want you to see that they provided 3 options for the Design Review Board to consider. So they took each of these options. Option A and B are very similar, with taking the sections then of the front facade and rear facade to accent in textured ephes that will mimic brick, some in red. And then you see here, and that's here in red. And then also here at the first story in option B is a lighter ephes that is textured that will mimic brick as well. And we talked about those characteristics that would mimic and mirror kind of the historic community, would be a great transition between our I-69 corridor into the downtown area. But they also then added in these roof toppers, these pediments as well. And then also we'll kind of talk about here in the next slide, or we'll jump back here, but other features that they're offering. But then later on in this presentation, then they had option C as well. So our Design Review Board members, they took a look at these 3 options, and they have recommended option B as what they felt that met the desires of that Gateway Corridor Overlay District standard planning document, as well as meeting that character and that desired character of what they anticipate kind of that future development in that area to look like. So Stephanie, if you want to go back to our presentation, which outlines and kind of focuses in on option B. So just kind of give you a little bit of a background on ephes. It's an exterior insulation and finish system. It's kind of a cladding system. It is very popular in a lot of our larger developments. It's waterproof. It lasts 50 to 60 years. And it has insulation board, fiberglass mesh, and then it's reinforced with a base coat and then a top coat. So they can do in variations of colors, designs, textures as well. And so what they proposed, you'll see here kind of here in the center, to give that added texture and character, they are offering ephes brick here in 3 of the sections here of the larger front facade, which kind of breaks up the dimension and the color and texture. They are also offering then a running continuous sills here in those sections, and then also crown seals here below each of the windows as well. We talked about offering a black metal sheeting for that material versus the silver material, and they were open to that. We even talked about maybe going with black windows, kind of giving that pop and that kind of that historic look to that as well. And then, of course, then those roof pediments features, you can kind of see here from the side how they pop, and it kind of gives a little bit similar look of what our downtown structures look like in our rooftops there.
Did the design review board render an opinion?
Yes,
Okay.
they did. We met this past week and they took a look at that, these proposals as well as the site layout, and
That's
that is
right,
on
they
the
like to
next
be-
slide. And Stephanie, if you want to go ahead and go on to the next slide. So
How-
this is,
How about the opinion that we wait on the town place suites? And just build the first one?
so that was a discussion. They actually decided, so they gave a joint recommendation. They gave a joint recommendation in favor of the conditional use request, in considering the design elements of it. The use, they felt that that is a decision that your board would make, because that gets a little bit more into the use. Or I guess, part of the request, more so than just kind of keeping them in the lane for their design review for those features. So they did not put in a recommendation for just limiting to the one hotel over the other.
Didn't mean to get you off track.
Yep, no, sorry, you're okay.
Before though, you start on this,
Mhm,
you talked about the red EFS brick.
mhm.
What are the other sections?
Yeah, so the other sections, what they are, there is an image, I can guide you, Stephanie, to go through it. So the first story is just a lighter tan, textured ephes, to mimic that brick. These other is just more smooth surface. It has a little bit of character in the design as far as some striping. Stephanie, if you want to go on out, kind of show you.
Did the
And then go.
design review board guide colors for the other sections as well?
They were not specific to any specific colors or design. They just said that they felt like that this met the requirements for this corridor and.
So will you and Hannah Rose be able to guide
Yes,
coloring?
Yes, so
I'm
we are going to go
asking-
into site development, yes, and building permits. So those elements will be reviewed
Okay.
and also any other standards in our gateway corridor. Those all have to be met, as well as
Okay.
our UDO as well. So.
Some of
yes.
the new
Yeah,
hotels that
and-
I've seen are pretty vibrant. And not that I don't
Yes.
like color, but it just needs to fit with that historic district overlay.
Yeah, we agree 100%. A part of that site development review will also include our technical review committee, as well as it will be bringing in that design review committee as well. So they will be brought back into further discussions once we get a final rendering of what the architectural and all those, the final, this is just a conceptual
Okay.
at this point.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah. Stephanie, I'm trying to think here. I think if you go into, try Fairfield entrance, this one right here, the second might have provided kind of what, it's a more of a smooth, it doesn't have that brick texture, but it has a little bit of variation in color and design there. And then the other piece too is down lighting. They're offering on those brick sections to be able to give further accent to the buildings. And those, I think, if you want to go back out, Stephanie, let's see here, try this left side, the fourth document down. I think that one, that's the daylight one. There's another one that had in nighttime. Right, two down from there. Fairfield right side. Yeah, so here's kind of that down lighting kind of example. So they're
Mhm.
offering that to be under those stills as well in that brick area. Oh. Yeah, so then Stephanie, you want to go to the conceptual site design. They gave an example for lot 4 to kind of provide an idea of what their proposed orientation would be facing Legacy Drive, which is a requirement for the Gateway Corridor to face then the road that you access the property from. Also, you have a couple more down there. The setback, the front setback is required to be a minimum of 10, a maximum of 40. So they are reflecting that on their layout as well. And then they're showing that shared access, which is a requirement for the Gateway Corridor. And then also showing then that 15 feet buffer here for landscaping. And then they're going to have that common space, which is our detention pond then along the entire south property line there. Again, this is very preliminary. This is not complete. They know that they submitted this. We would not be able to approve in a site development review process. But it just was their efforts that they did in due diligence to be able to give a conceptual site layout and idea of what it would look like, upon construction. So. And then again, all those standards will have to be met when it comes time to those next steps of development phases. Do you have any questions regarding the additional renderings that they provided?
No, I
Comments?
mean, last month we really wanted it to go through the
Mhm.
design review
Yes.
board, which it did, and give us that additional information. I mean, I'm excited that they are willing to change all those windows to black and
Yeah,
really make it a downtown feel.
Bill.
And that's been the vision as people come up with that corridor is you are somewhere special.
Yeah.
And not anywhere USA.
Yeah. Yeah, they've been great to work with. They've been very responsive, very receptive, to the comments that you made, trying to be able to meet the standards and the desires for this area, as well as being a feasible project for them as well as a developer. So yeah.
Did you say we have not had any comment from the public?
We
or
have not
adjoining property
received-
owners? or-
Yeah, we did have one individual that inquired and asked for documentation that
Mhm.
was presented last month. We did not receive any feedback, just a thank you for providing. So that's as far as that inquiry went. We invited that individual to attend the meeting tonight to be able to learn more, but that's the last that we had heard.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think you guys are doing a good job of this. I think what we end up doing with this project is going to be, when you have some other businesses out there, as we know, this will be a 4-story structure. So it's going to provide a lot of precedent that's going forward with
Exactly.
other development,
Yep.
the properties in front of
Yep.
the hotels.
Mhm.
And it's important we get this right.
Yeah, yeah.
If we're gonna proceed with this,
I
and
agree.
it's gonna set the table for probably future development and how that lays out.
More visitors to the
Yes.
downtown area.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
more,
Yeah.
more traffic and,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a huge part of shaping the development out
Mhm.
there.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it would.
And we actually had a focus group for our comprehensive plan update today. And we had one of the members of one of the focus groups was a representative from Community Sports and Wellness. And they heard about the hotel coming and they're very excited because they have a lot of participants and with their tennis program and so forth that are not local. And it
Mhm.
does give them a local
Sure.
place to lodge, while they're here for competitions, and they're looking at getting some larger scaled programming and competitions here nationwide. So that'll be very
Wow,
exciting for
nice.
our community. So, yeah. Mhm.
And it'll just drive people down here to
Yep.
walk around and enjoy.
Mhm. Enjoy the park, our restaurants,
The shops
absolutely,
and-
shops.
We need that
Mhm.
foot traffic.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
Particularly
And
when you mentioned traffic, the importance for bicycle friendly, golf cart friendly.
Mhm.
Build sidewalk.
That you
Yeah.
have, wide enough sidewalks to allow for all this, make it
Yes.
more walking for people to get out of their car
yes,
than
yeah,
walk.
Well,
yes.
there are plans for the path.
Yep.
Yeah.
It just goes over the water back there with that potential old bridge and the
Yeah.
trails.
Yeah, we
The
have our business park
triangle
trail.
lot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's what I call it, the
Yes.
triangle lot.
Yeah, and this lot will
Wow.
be a huge part of that plan. So as they develop, they will be responsible for then having that trail connectivity, sidewalks. So there'll be sidewalks more internally to their development, and then sidewalks there, which would be south of Henderson Way. But there along on the west side of South Heritage Way will be the 10-foot trail then that will connect to the bridge across I-69, that it'll come across then eventually Starbucks, Three Rivers Federal Credit Union, then it'll come on down south on Heritage Way, right next to then Lot 5 here. Then it's going to jump over and cross over by the school corporation, or go down to the property, like you said, and go across Fall Creek to tie into Taylor Street. And then that will then connect into eventually to the downtown in our park system.
It'll be a big
Yes.
plus,
Yes,
Yeah.
huge.
huge.
Mhm. Yeah. So do you have any questions for petitioner or petitioner? Is there anything that you would like to add before I go into staff analysis?
Dr. Lau had a
Thank you.
question.
Yeah, thank you, Denise, for all the details and very thorough presentation of a lot of things that we have been talking about. And we appreciate your support as we progress through this.
Absolutely welcome. I think we do have one.
Okay.
You want, can you come up?
No.
Oh,
Is there any meeting room facility in the hotel?
So there was a kind of a, it looked like a conference, kind of a smaller room that was in the brochure. I think just kind of a smaller like meeting space, breakfast, lobby area. And then there was a recreational facility, kind of a workout.
I mean, what I mean by meeting room is like,
Yeah, so just,
all there be.
there are,
Okay.
Accommodate about 20, 25 people.
Rakesh, can you hear that? He's asking if there's going to be a meeting room in the hotel. Okay.
yep. Yeah, so, as Denise mentioned, there would be, a lobby, a fitness area, swimming pool, and also meeting room on the facility.
I think Dr. Lau also asked if there was, the meeting room had presentation equipment,
Kind of.
screens, things of that, or.
Yeah.
Okay.
It would, yes, it
Yeah.
would be equipped with all those. Yeah. Mhm.
Do we have any other questions? I'll let you proceed,
Okay.
Denise.
So the function of the planning staff is to analyze the petition against the approved and relevant plans and ordinances in place, as well as any existing conditions or variances placed upon the site to present these facts and analysis. And based on that analysis, we'd like to offer the following comments. Stephanie, if go on down here. We feel as staff that the conditional use request would not be detrimental to public health and safety. This proposed land use is consistent with the comprehensive plan future land use map, which was planned business. Hotels was allowable use within the planned business district. Parcel is surrounded by similar zoning districts and uses. And all the infrastructure needs are in place. That includes utilities, roadway accessibility, stormwater management. And then also, developer is going to be constructing that private roadway, the Legacy Drive, which would help minimize that traffic congestion there off of Henderson Way and South Heritage Way. And that lot 4 and 5 is going to be offering then that shared drive as required by the gateway overlay. Conceptual renderings that were offered since our last month's meeting has added great texture, color, architectural features, which give great dimension to this building. It kind of helps break that large scale building. And then also it lends respect to our historic community and provides a great transition into our historic downtown. The parcel is within zoning district that permits this conditional use request, so long as conditional use is approved by your board. And the subject property is within that gateway overlay. And as mentioned earlier, the Design Review Board has provided a joint favorable recommendation and full support of the conditional use and based upon those new materials that were provided specific to option B and site layout. We also wanted to provide just kind of a little bit of heads up just for our next steps and checkpoints that are provided and in place here for our planning processes. The site layout and building standards will be subject to the UDO and Gateway Corridor overlay districts. That's signage, lighting, landscaping, setbacks, and whatnot. If any of those standards cannot be met, they will have to come back to the Board of Zoning Appeals to seek that variance from developmental standards. And then, as mentioned earlier, that site plan review and building permit process and approvals, the technical review committee will be a part of that, and as well, that design review board will be pulled back into those discussions. We also wanted to bring to your attention that a conditional use by statute is limited to 3 years. And what that triggers is that construction needs to start within 3 years from the approval of the conditional use. So it has kind of a feature of a null and void. Now, your board can actually reduce that. They can do a minimum of 1 year, maximum, say up to the 3 years. But if they find that this cannot be constructed within that time frame, the petitioner could come back and could seek an amendment to their conditional use to be able to extend that time. But that action would have to be taken. And then also just as reiterate as far as the Chapter 112 of the town code, that hotel and places of public lodging regulations are in place. We also have that annual permit requirement that the hotel operator would have to participate in, keeping and maintaining innkeeper taxes, as well as staying under those required maximum ratio for calls for service. So those are kind of those checkpoints that we have in place and that we just kind of wanted to remind you before you go into your decision making.
Well, we can have discussion. As far as the 3 years, I'm not concerned with shortening that only because we're making our decision based on what that overlay district and our current ordinances are. I don't see that since we just implemented that overlay district, it's not going to be updated before 3 years. Now, if there was things were changing and it was going to be updated in another year, I would only hold it
Reflect on
to
that,
that update.
Right.
But I am good with the 3 years.
I
That
would
was
e-
the
I
one
would
thing
echo
that stuck
as
out.
far as, yeah, where we are at this point in time. Yeah,
Looks like they're moving right along.
yeah, it does.
That is correct. They have submitted their secondary plat. They are ready to submit their 30% design to Fairfield. Once this is approved, they're ready to go into site development and start construction here in the next few months, midsummer on the first hotel. And then after that's constructed, move right into then the next one.
Any other thoughts or discussion? I feel like what we asked last month, we have answers for, and then we have the approval from the design oversight committee.
I do like that piece in there too. That gives another set of eyes to look at this
Yes.
as well. With the objective of looking at design.
Yeah.
Give them a recommendation to us to entertain.
I really like
Yeah.
That's
It's
The
great to
design.
see that
Yeah.
work out.
It
And yeah,
mimics.
it's just.
a good piece.
Mhm.
They
Yeah.
did update the drawings for the Fairfield, which I really liked. And I do appreciate the fact that the design review board weighed in like we'd asked. Are they gonna provide the town place suites kind of equivalent, or is that?
Yes, it'd be very similar.
In
Yes,
future?
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
Yes. Mhm.
But that's
That
not
is
something we
correct.
need to weigh in on.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yes, that would be very similar to what they proposed for the Fairfield or lot 4.
And the town place suites will probably also have some kind of conference room.
It's
Or
a larger footprint.
bigger
Yes,
place.
yes. they do.
So should I open it up then for any additional comments?
If you like, you most welcome.
Any
to do that.
additional comments online or here in person? All right, so I will go through then. The criteria, so we can either approve, deny, approve with conditions. And Denise, that list of next steps aren't really conditions, that's a given.
That is
Okay.
correct, yes.
I just want to
Just
clarify
wanted to
that.
Provide that additional information.
So I'll run through this list here. The establishment, maintenance, or operation of conditional use will not be detrimental or endanger the public health, safety, morals, or general welfare. Agree that it does not. The conditional use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for purposes already permitted. It's not. The establishment of the conditional use will not impede or substantially alter the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding property for uses permitted in the district. Not skip here. Adequate utilities, access, road, drainage, and other necessary facilities have been or are being provided, and we saw that with that retention pond.
I think so on that I may raise on the question on roads. Look at this, obviously we don't have a crystal ball, but I look at the layout out there and I look at our roundabouts that we have in place and the flow of traffic you have through there currently. This is going to add probably significant, they would hope significant to that traffic. Their business do well. And then a second component at some time in the probably not too distant future, traffic is going to be a big issue. And I look at the getting into the restaurant up there and you've got the concrete berm through the middle there. I saw the other night coming through there, coming home, and there was a car on the wrong side of the road, because he probably hadn't been in the restaurant there, and he pulled out, turns left while he was in the driver's lane coming the other direction. And he couldn't get across to get out of the way. Fortunately, he stopped and got it done, but this is going to continue to be an issue and it's probably going to grow. I'm sure you're probably looking at traffic flow coupled with this development and future development with this, that we need to see what we can do to make improvements on the traffic flow. Because we're governed somewhat coming into town, the size of town, you can't really do anything in the width here in the downtown area. We want to protect that. But how we can, as that area grows, we can keep the historic footprint and the value of that and the success of that, but also couple that with if expansion is going to occur, it's going to occur out there, would appear. It is, and how we address the traffic flow and study that as well as we develop all this. Probably going to happen pretty quick.
Yeah.
Would appear.
Yeah, and I think that with the development and how we have asked them to have the access to these lots internal, not allowing them to have, single access then off of Henderson Way, South Heritage Way will be a big help to eliminate a lot of that congestion and traffic conflict there. But I do, agree that, we've talked about it as staff with, what type of improvements that we're going to need for Enterprise Drive. Those, we're going to be having a lot of construction traffic that's coming there for the community health and network development there. Tractor Supply naturally brings a lot of heavier traffic. So, there's going to be some road improvements that we're going to need to make and consider, and even between I-69 and that first roundabout there at Heritage Way. We are looking at having North Heritage Way probably starting construction here in the next few months. We'll then kind of start then that extra option to be able to then navigate through the town there to the north to
the
State
north.
Road, Old State Road
Okay.
132. We've got to get that fully connected, but at least those starting that project here this year. So, yeah,
And
no
then
valid point.
there's the impact fees. that
Yes,
This will bring that are specific to road improvements.
yes, will give us a funding base for
Use the
those
funding,
projects
yeah.
for sure. Yes.
The
Mhm.
roundabout is gonna be But the bigger picture, I'm not too worried about traffic generation because it's gonna be mostly on 69, off 69 on 69. Right? They become the customers there, they come in and they're gonna get us. Let it move down. Right?
Mhm.
But as far as traffic generation, it's mostly been generated. Through town, maybe to town.
We're not just passing through.
Right.
Mhm.
In the bigger picture, it can be a lot of traffic generation, but I think in a long scenario, as far as how the facts, no. This area.
Anna Rose says she hears mumbles. There's a comment on the microphone, sorry.
Oh.
Okay, well, thank you, Scott. I see that's
Yeah.
kind of an ongoing issue.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
I think I have 2 bullets left. I didn't skip
Mhm,
one
yep.
as I looked through my double vision glasses here. Let's see, where were we? Adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide ingress and egress, so designed as to minimize traffic congestion on the public roadway. So we just discussed
Good.
that. The conditional use will be located in a district where such use is permitted and all other requirements set forth in this UDO that are applicable to such use will be met, and that is correct. So I will make a motion to approve, deny, or approve with conditions.
I'll make a motion to approve without conditions.
I will second that.
Okay. So can we all say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved.
All right, we'll put those findings of facts together for you and have that for you next month.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. and Mr. Patel, both Patels?
Yes, that is
Okay.
correct.
If you're still on there.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you
No
very much.
problem.
Appreciate that.
All right. All right. Thank you, Rakesh. We'll be in touch.
All right. Thank you, Dennis.
Okay.
So we will move on then.
Yeah.
We have new business, CU 021-82-025-01. And this is in regards to a public kennel on the property in the general business district there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. So yes, this is property at 6859 State Road 67. You'll see there it's a pretty large property. It's zoned general business. It's a little bit over 5 acres. This property is owned and known as Falls Park Plaza. There are 6 buildings there, about 18 to 20 separate tenant units there. Variety of business, commercial, institutional, and service-related uses within that property. The petitioner here is Kelsey Hargreaves. She is the owner of Top Star Grooming LLC. She is registered with the state of Indiana, the Office of Secretary of State, and she has received permission from the property owner and consent from the property owner to represent them in this matter. And she is a tenant there, currently subleasing Suite 1, which is about 215 square feet. That suite is in the front building that faces State Road 67. The service that she provides is a pet grooming service with a 1-to-1 pet and operator ratio. There is no overnight boarding or daycare services that is provided. And we'll talk about public kennel here in just a second though. But she is of interest to just restricting her use to pet grooming, not the full allowance for a public kennel, which would be that boarding feature. This site provides adequate access to all public utilities, which is electric, water, sewer, and has sufficient public parking on the site for both staff and her clientele. Wanted to just kind of bring to your attention, this petitioner, and this has been common in our community with our change to our UDO and our zoning here just a couple years ago. This site was originally planned business, which grooming then was originally allowed, a permitted use on this site. Then in a lease space coming open, this petitioner subleases this space from a tenant that could not continue occupying that space. But in conversations with the owner, thought that this use was allowable. So just when it came to our attention, Mrs. Hargreaves was very quick to respond to us and to get the necessary paperwork to us and get this petition on file. So just a little bit about her business. It is dog grooming. There is a sound barrier that's provided in her site. She does have one kennel on site, but that is required by law. So the regulations require that to be able to keep dogs separated. This is by appointment only. She is the sole operator, pet groomer currently. She takes one dog at a time based on that appointment. The only time that there is more than 2 dogs in the suite is if there is one owner that has 2 dogs, and then at which that there is a separate gated area for the grooming space, and then that second dog is placed in that kennel until they're ready for their appointment there. So there's no overlap. She does have a strict policy for a maximum of 15-minute early arrival. For these reasons, she operates between the hours of 7 and 5 p.m. And also too, there is a double layered hair trap system that is in place, and she has all of her sanitation management in place as well. We talked about that in depth, and she's got 10 years of experience and very well experienced in this field. So what Mrs. Hargreaves is requesting as petitioner before you tonight, she is asking to be able to operate a public kennel on the property, but again, limited to pet grooming services. She has no intentions to expanding into any type of boarding service. Just by definition, our UDO doesn't separate that use out. And it might be a consideration for our plan commission to separate pet grooming as a service related business versus then that onboarding. But right now it's housed all in one definition. So it's defined as an establishment with dogs or domesticated animals are housed, groomed, bred, boarded, trained, and or sold for a fee. So it's all kind of encompasses, so that conditional use is still required to be able to have just one piece of that, which is her pet grooming service. So she is asking to be able to operate that pet grooming service in the currently occupied Suite 1. Again, she's subleasing, and that lease is coming up here later this year, here in a few months in July, and has been advised that a larger suite may come available on this same property. So what she is asking is to have that conditional use to be extended to the entire property to be able to, if a larger suite were to come available here later this year, to be able to occupy that space and to relocate her business. She, in doing so, would be looking at converting the interior to accommodate her pet grooming service. It would be limited to just the interior. The only exterior modification would be just simply putting up a sign. She has also talked about if she does have additional space, she would then be able to look into increasing her operator space. So that would be up to a maximum of 4. She would then, depending on their needs and desires, would be looking into extending it from 7 a.m. to a maximum of 9 p.m. That is a requirement by state regulation. So, she now herself, with her own personal interests, is capping that at that 5 o'clock. But would like to expand that as well. Stephanie, if you want to go on to the next page. We have our staff analysis that we can provide to you, but I'd like to pause, and if you have any questions about the operation that I can answer as staff or petitioner, like to add, or if you'd like to add to anything, you're welcome to do as well.
So is Suite One's already set up for grooming
Yes,
and with filters and all that?
yes, yes. She's been there since about August, I think you said, of last year. Oh, okay, okay. Yes,
So currently operating.
yes, currently operating.
So as, if there's a space that does come open, is there something in place from staff side to know that things are set up the way they need to?
Yes, so, so she would communicate that with us. There's not a formal process right
Okay.
now. We are looking into a kind of that business registration process that will be able to keep, this from, happening. Because it's just, it was, was a honest, just not being informed about the changes of our zoning districts. And so I think that that is going to be huge and instrumental in us being able to catch that from the start. But for now, she would then communicate, she would have probably a remodel with this particular suite to be able to put in some sound barriers and traffic system and so forth. And that
So
will
at
come
that
through our
point,
building
The
permit.
staff would
process.
know
Yes.
because that permit would be
Mhm.
pulled.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah.
And because this is coming across to us, we could add that as a condition that
You
that
absolutely
communication occurs.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
That is 100% correct. Yes. Mhm.
And I guess my other comment is more toward you, Denise, and
Mhm.
staff. I don't know if Hannah Rose is still on there, but I do think we need to have some discussion in the plan commission about those definitions, and we knew
Mhm.
things like this would come up as
Come
we
up.
need to define
Yes.
it better.
Yes.
So footnote that.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. We've got that as a, because I think that we're going to probably see similar things that we've
Mhm.
got a private kennel, we've got a public kennel, but when, an operator is just wanting
Grooming
to
is
limit it,
different.
grooming is
Mhm.
a lot different than overnight onboarding daycare services for sure. I agree. Yep, we'll make
Any other
note of that.
discussion with the board? Do we have any discussion with our petitioner or anyone else? Anyone online? Okay, that's no's all the way around, so I'll let you proceed, Denise.
Okay. So, just stated earlier, the function of the planning staff is to analyze the petition against approved and relevant plans and ordinances and existing conditions and variances placed upon the site to present facts and analysis. And we'd like to offer the following. We feel as staff that this conditional use request would not be injurious to public health and safety or general welfare. This suite layout and design includes that gated grooming space that we talked about earlier, that one kennel for dog separation is required, sound barrier, double layer hair trap system, and then that proper sanitation management for odor and waste control. And then if there was an expansion of the service to another suite, those same provisions would be provided as well. Clientele is drop-off pickup only. It's a 1-to-1 pet to operator ratio with no boarding services. All the utilities are present on the site that's necessary to support the current service and or expanded services. And improvement and uses are limited to the suite interior footprint with no exterior modifications that would be made. All other developmental standards through that permitting process will be met, including the UDO standards as well as fire and building code standards. And this subject property, it is within the Gateway Overlay District. We wanted to bring that out. However, that it is not any external design or element piece for that board to be brought in for that review. So that has been waived by the administrator and noted in the file. And then also any regulation for noise upkeep, unsightly, we have codes in place that can help keep that in check. And this public kennel being restricted to just a pet grooming request is a conditional use within the general business zoning district.
So I will go through the list, but first, I just want to add, I believe there should be a condition before we make sure they hit everything else, is if there was a move that the business communicates with our staff, since this is going through this process. So the first item here is the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the conditional use will not be detrimental or endanger the public health, safety, morals, or general welfare. The conditional use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for purposes already permitted. The establishment of the conditional use will not impede or substantially alter the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding property for uses permitted in the district. Adequate utilities, access road, drainage and other necessary facilities have been or are being provided. Adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide ingress and egress, so design as to minimize traffic congestion on the public roadways. Conditional use will be located in a district where such use is permitted and all other requirements set forth in the UDO that are applicable to such use will be met. So we can approve, deny, or approve with conditions.
You said you had a condition you wanted
Is
to
just,
add, just to notify the staff that they're gonna
to move,
expand.
correct.
It would be an expansion, not really a move, right? Oh, okay.
So then that would, most likely they would have to pull a permit anyway, but I just want to make sure that that is a condition that the staff is aware, since there are certain conditions for the setup, the design inside, so that staff know that those things are occurring. But that was my only condition.
I recommend approval with the conditions as stated by Jenny.
Do I have a second?
I would second the motion.
Okay, all say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we have an approval.
Yep.
Do I need to say anything
Okay.
else, Denise?
No, that's a say. I think
approve.
that wraps up everything for.
I'm used to Kyle doing
Yes,
this.
you did a great job. You did great. So, okay.
Okay,
You have any questions or anything?
anything else?
Yeah, you just contact me. Yeah. Mhm.
We just want this town staff to know, so they can be assured that you have it set up as you currently do with your ventilation and things of that nature. I assume whatever needs to be done will have to have a permit pulled, which would trigger that anyway, but I just wanted to make sure that that communication
Takes place.
has occurred.
You don't need a permit to me. What she was saying, if you did like a remodel of that suite to accommodate your pet grooming service, that would naturally trigger a building permit for renovation. But if you don't have anything that's significant to prompt that, the condition is that you just communicate with us, and we'll just send a building inspector out there once you're completely set up, and to make sure that it's cohesive with what you are operating. So,
We-
separate gated space and, yes.
We just don't want to approve your current space, but then you move and and you're not upholding what we approved tonight with your current conditions. We just want them to be
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah.
And we're trying to cover all of
Yeah.
our bases
Yes.
and be consistent.
And that relocation and that conditional use is limited to the parcel that, Falls Park, Plaza. So, yeah, so it is just restricted to that site.
That area.
Mhm. Yep.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Okay, anything
you.
else, Denise? Anything
That's-
else for our board?
That's
Make
it.
a motion, we adjourn.
Mhm.
Is that the next
Right.
step?
Yes.
Good.
Okay,
Motion, we adjourn.
Great.
Second.
all
Uh,
adjourn.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. Woo.